you know, it's been a while since I've been on YouTube, but let me just say hello to the people that used to follow me, right? Uh, a lot has changed, and let me just talk about this Waters thing, man. Made me laugh. Could you imagine your team making a gaffe like Waters? Welcome, viewer. Glad you're here. Could you imagine? The homeless people are saying, "Where do you want me to go?" And she says, "Go home." Miss Waters, you stinky little thing, you need to retire. You need to get off TV, whatever you want to call it. But that just that made me laugh. And then the people that call her up and say, "Do you want to like backtrack on that, or do you want to?" She says you can't. You're getting involved with something you shouldn't get involved with. Like, what is she going to do? Dox you? They just want to know what happened. What's going on? Why would you tell the homeless to go home? Are you an idiot? So anyway, you guys know me as Big H on Twitter. I'm Big Cat. I'm a lion. Got my lion right here. It's been a long road since I've been on YouTube, and I'm just making myself get back in here and spread the good word. Obviously on Instagram, I'm East Coast Beach Bear. That's where I do some jerky and make some. I make like boutique jerky, so that's fun. But let me explain my Twitter situation. Since I've been gone, I guess around 2019, I got canceled. They took me out because I didn't like what was happening politically, so they took me out. I had about 11,000 followers. I was working real good. I had walked away from YouTube just because we had moved. I packed up all my gear, my laptop and all I had was my phone. And I got the bug. So around 2017, maybe 16, no, holy cow, 2015, yes, is when I actually started creeping on Twitter to see what was going on with the news. And people always said, hey, if you look on Twitter, you'll have tons more to get through the news. You ain't gonna see it on mainstream. CNN, Fox, they're corporate. They are legacy media, as we all know. So on Twitter, I was big. I was the biggest cat, and they canceled me, so I came back as Big Cat. And since then, I have about 33,000 followers there, all Patriots. And all I do is speak about patriotism. This thing with, telling it's not even the tip of the iceberg, it's floating over the iceberg. But for a woman to sit there to the homeless that is supposed to care about the homeless and tell them to go home, that just made me laugh. And then Disney's coming on saying, we're contemplating on boys and girls and queens and kings and prince and princesses. It's all bull honky. It ain't right. It's not good at all. What's up, bud? It's all good. So at BFES56, I'm on Twitter. So what I did was, after I got canceled, I really decided to do a lot more looking into things, research. Probably since 2001 with 9/11, I was definitely on the conspiracy trains, trying to figure out what was going on with that and learning about that. But by the Hillary Trump thing, I was like really hooked on fighting for us Patriots. So if you're not watching this and you rewatch it later, I'm all about patriotism. All right. The Lion's Den created a room on Twitter for people that believe in voter ID and election transparency. I say election transparency meaning it can be auditable. You can see real results, which coincides with my voter ID. And that, plain and simple, is when you're 18, you're assigned a number with letters in it. Maybe they create enough numbers that nobody will match for 1 billion, and then when you get to the 1 billion, you just add in one letter or one number and you can get another 200, 400 million. And I believe it should be free. So if you go to the voting polls and you show your ID card and you show your driver's license, you submit your card, like to have a little chip. You put it in the chip reader. It says that you showed up at what time. Then you go in and vote. You do your vote, and then you come out, or inside the voting machine, you can put your chip back in and walk out, and now you have your vote and your number. I have a Cheetah's Den too, and the Cheetah's Den is actually fighting wokeness. Basically, like let's take the boys swimming against girls. I talk about that a lot. Look at what Maxine Waters just did with telling the homeless to go home. It's so bad. The gaslighting, just bad. The left, just bad. But I also deal with mail-in ballot. I'm going to say reform, not like defund it or get rid of it. But yeah, the mail-in ballot situation is just disgusting. It's so overused. It needs to be reformed. With the Tiger's Den, there's another two political arrows that I'm working on, and that's term limits for congressmen. The president can only do two, whether it's consecutive. Hey, how you doing? Whether it's consecutive terms, two of them, or one, and then come back. Maybe a second run. With a president in between. That's fine. But Congress, women and men, should not be there for life. So I'm totally into that. Term limits. So that's about it. I'm just letting you know. That's why you're seeing me back on YouTube again. I will continue to go live, and I will continue to place hard copy and whatnot videos on there. So anything, yo man, what's up, Mel? What's up, brother? I'm more activist now than I ever have been, and big love to you, Mel. It's a slow process, but I've decided that in my time, good to see you, brother. I've decided in this time to speak up, and that's for both sides. I'm not gaslighting. I'm not going to do anything but tell the truth. And Mel knows me well enough. I'm very balanced, very fair. I have my opinions, but they definitely, speak your piece, man. And here's the thing. You got to be willing to hear somebody else's piece. Like, I don't care what side of the team you're on, but I always say, Mel, you might even heard me say this before, but the art of communication is dead. It's gone. You can have a graduate of Harvard and a graduate of Yale and put them in a room and tell them to have a conversation, and they can't do it. But you go on a park bench and sit next to somebody. I was talking to somebody yesterday about this fellow that wants to swim with the women, or not even wants, is. And I'm solid rock firm on biology. I'm not about the sex part. I'm firm on biology, and there's no way that should happen. It takes away from the girls. I have a daughter who's 15. If she was swimming in high school and somebody came in with that physique and said, chemically, I feel it was, assigned to me wrong, which I support. Let's get this straight. You're born a certain way, but say by 14, 15, 16, you know exactly where your head is. I have no problem with that at all. Zero. I have love for anybody that chooses that route, and anybody that surgically blossoms into the opposite. More power to you, because that's really a hard decision to make. And if you make that decision and you go through with it, God bless. I'm more proud than I could say I'm against. I think that's a huge cavern to leap. And when they do that, male or female, that's huge. But Just say a woman wants to go compete with the men, and guess what she's not allowed to do? Because the men that transform into the women, they do estrogen for like 12 months now. I think the U.S. Swimmers say, like, if you can prove 12 months of taking estrogen, you're fine to compete. Well, listen, if a woman wants to do it with the men, guess what? She can't take steroids. She can't take that stuff. You have heard me say it right. You know, and if I'm a father, I'm going to stand up for my daughter. And here's the funny thing. Everybody's clapping for this person, and I'm not mentioning names, but we see it in the news. Everybody's clapping on the team that's going, like, hey, let her compete, and this is great. And I think there were 17 spots open, maybe 16. So all 16 that get chosen are still clapping. The person that was 17 that didn't make it, or 18 that was the slot that didn't make it, that was just outside, all of a sudden gets up and says, this is wrong. This is wrong. I didn't get in a spot. But that same person 5 weeks ago, a month ago, was clapping. And this, you can do your research. This is happening right now. And all I care about is a woman doesn't get hurt. Here, I'll tell you this too. This is, if I were to choose, because I have a wife, 2 kids. I'm blessed. Thank God. Thank the Lord with that. And I really try my hardest to respect women and do what I can do. There is no way I would change myself over to a woman with my physique, my strength that I had, and go compete against them. It's crazy. It's a complex issue because of emotions, makeup, the kids being involved, and then the politics. Right, but you just said it, Mel, the kids. The kids that are involved, do you know an 8-year-old doesn't know nothing about any of this? And it's in the schools. Yeah, there's a religious aspect too. There's, all I'm talking about, put all that aside, I'm talking about biology. That's all. You can't mix sex. Well, sex is biology, but you can't mix gender with biology. They call it a sign now. It's not stem on the apple, he's a boy, and then you write it in. The person that writes down boy is now called the assigner, that you've been assigned a boy. Well, you are. Biologically, you're a boy. What I'm saying is chemically, upstairs, because the brain works electrically, chemically, if you feel you need to go to the other side, all power to you. But you can't create. Here we go. And look this up. I believe last I saw 0.08 transgenders out of the population in the United States. So that doesn't give you where you can just create a baseball league of all transgenders. But if you wanted to compete man against woman physically, I would have to say create a league that is mixed. So if you want to have a football team of transgender, there's nothing wrong with that. If anything, that groups them all together to show that they can work together and do their thing. I just don't want women, like if Brock Lesnar just decided in MMA that, you know, I'm coming out, I've always been this way, and I feel like I need to be a woman. Could you imagine Brock Lesnar transforming into a woman and then going into the MMA? Man, that's going to be so. They'll never let it just be about one thing. No, that's their gameplay. Whether you call it deep state, left, woke, whatever, that's their play. But when you break it down to biology, we're not supposed to compete against each other. We're not. We can do it when it's accepted. Like, take tennis, go for it. But look up Serena Williams. She said there was a guy, I think he was like ranked 214th. She played him and she got aced and he was drinking. Look this up though. And then she goes on Letterman. It's about 8 years ago. And she's like, I always want to be a woman and compete against women. Now she's on the side of, you know, she's on the side of the swimmer because the swimmer's not in the tennis. So that's called virtue signaling. That's called gaslighting. I know for a fact, as I love Serena Williams, God bless her, but I've seen her in different situations now where she's kind of repeating what's in the echo chamber. Our conversation we're having right now isn't one way. I'm listening to you. You put anything up there you want, and I'm going to read it, and I'm going to, take it in. All I'm saying is, if my daughter, and people don't want to mess up their money and say what is acceptable, boom, right? Because I was getting to that. The girls on the swim team for either the trials for Olympic or the United States swim team or their collegiate rankings and what they get paid for their tuition, if they stood up against it, yes, the woke socialist SJW college will cancel her and she will not have her scholarship. And it's not up to these young people. It's been a decade that this group of 18 to 28-year-olds you're seeing have been blown away in the brain by colleges and high schools. I'm sorry to say that. The teachers union is one of the teachers union is in my tiger's den. That's term limits and teachers unions. I think highly of some unions. I think they're needed in certain areas, but I do believe that the teachers union is destroying our children. If there was no teachers union, I bet you there'd be better public school choice for everybody. Do you know all the left has to do with the right is say, what do you want? And the right say, I'd like good schooling across the board, fix it, get it right. For any neighborhood, any race, any religion, fix it. And we're on board too. And you know what? The left won't do that. Because then they can't generate their BS. So, Mel, do me a favor. Spread me around. What's this here? Oh man, teachers union. That's a whole other conversation. Yeah, absolutely it is. But Mel, this is the first live I'm doing that you're gonna understand me probably better than you ever have. And that I mean absolutely no malice. Look, I got somebody behind me. I don't mean any malice, man. I have only love. And our American system is broken. If the FBI, CIA, WHO, CDC, Congress, White House, mainstream media, high tech, big dark government, if they're all corrupt, you're going to tell me our last bastion of being a patriot and our voting system is not corrupt? That's BS. That's voter ID. That's my number one. Free. It should be free. And you know what? If you're from Afghanistan and you come in here and you want to be an American, that's beautiful. And you pass all your tests and you could say pledge allegiance, all that, whatever, and you become a citizen, $5. All right? Pay $5 and you got your voter ID. But I don't want people coming in, in California, the illegal votes from people crossing the border has changed, and this, you can look it up, has changed 2 districts where they get more electorates. Not people moving from America into California. Oh, I'm definitely taking on voters' rights. It is an absolute fallacy that the government can't give you ID. It is an absolute fallacy that if you don't go to the voting polls, then we don't need your vote. But you go to the voting polls and you put your card in, or however they decide to do it. I have other videos on what I feel about that. It is a big fight. My Lion's Den, if you're on Twitter, look up the Lion's Den, BFES56. I have close to 34,000 followers, and I have 34 people inside that room that think exactly like me. And we are honest patriots. We are on both sides. Black, white, red, tan, don't matter. Gay, straight, lesbian, don't matter. But just don't gaslight me. Just don't woke me. Don't do that. What we have to do is sit down, talk about it, and get everybody loving. I know you can't do kumbaya, but I'll leave you with this. Voter ID, you get a card at 18, you have a number assigned to you. And if with the computers we have today, they can take a batch of letters, numbers, dashes, whatever, and create a system that when one number isn't used yet, the computer finds it, mixes it up, and gives it to you. When we reach 1 billion, which is fair, you add one letter or maybe 2 letters or a letter and a number to that sequence, and you get a whole other 200, 400 million. So there is no reason why the government can't. The only reason the government won't do it is because they can cheat. The only reason why they won't make elections transparent and auditable is because you can cheat. And I don't give a crap about Trump, Biden, none of it. Clinton, none of it. But America is about ready to just go. It is. America's ready to go boop. Done. Out of here. So, Mel, I've been doing this since 2019. We even had that talk one time where we talked. I was sitting outside in the Crest about 3 years ago. And I told you I felt like I wanted, but I waited. I waited because I needed to have shoulder pads, armor, helmet, and there's nothing I will ever say that hurts the other side. What I will say is truth. What I will say is sometimes the way I see it or opinion, but I almost always back everything up with, you can look it up. I didn't even get to, once I'm on the laptop doing this, I'll be putting links down there. Yeah, you sound like you would like to fight me on it. Like I invite that. I'm already fighting it, Mel. I've been fighting it for 2 years on Twitter. I'm just coming back to YouTube as a buffer. I do lives 11 o'clock a.m. now for about a month and a week. Religiously, I get on there Monday through Friday, 11 a.m., just a little chit chat because I'm practicing. What you're watching right now, me sitting in my truck, is practice. If anything, I want you to help me join the fight. I want you to be, I realize you're probably on the other side, which is fine. To have our government, we have to be, red and blue and get together and make purple, which is cool with me. So if you're from the other side and you feel that, voter ID is neglected, I want to know how you feel. Because if I were in charge, everybody in New York would have a free card. One number per soul. And enough of the mail-in ballots, because I understand absentee ballots, but you can't have four or five boxes sitting in a room. And I got an antidote for that. My aunt's best friend told me personally, I was visiting, and I have other anecdotes too, stories, told me that she didn't fill in her mail-in ballot. And it was sent to her and she didn't request it. For 3 years, she requested it, but she wasn't feeling good. The 4th year, she did not request it, and it still came to her house. She did not know what was about to happen. So she throws it out, tears it in half, throws it out, because she knows for the first time she can go there. No, I know. People are going to be shocked with what I have to say. So anyway, my aunt gets there to the polls, and they're like, you can't vote. And she's like, why? You got a mail-in ballot. Yeah, but I threw it out. I feel better. I did it for a couple years, and I want to show up and vote. Well, you can't. Why can't I? Because if you send a mail-in ballot, you can't vote here. So that's a rigged situation. That's not good, because now you can take that soul and make something up. Maybe they don't. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. But you start having these boxes in the back of the room when you're looking at what the totals are. And that's the thing about these, the Dominion. and I'm probably going to get canceled because I just said the D word. They don't allow you to look into how they don't let you look at all of what happened that night, how it came in, where did it go, whose side did it go on. I'll leave you with the voter ID. If you were in high school in 12th grade, now you're 17, 16, 18, whatever, driving, and your teacher in the beginning of the school year has you to vote for a class representative or president of school, whatever. Let's just take of just the class. So there's like 32 people in the class, 33, whatever, make it, or maybe 32, and she's the tiebreaker, whatever. So everybody writes on a piece of paper and puts it in a box. You walk up to the box, you drop your paper in. So what if she goes in a back room and comes out and says, "Oh, Daryl, you won. You're class representative or class president." And Mindy's going against him. And Mindy says, "Well, what was the vote?" "Oh, it was 15 to 11 or whatever it takes to get to the thing." So Mindy says, "Well, let me see the box." "No, it's in the back room now. It's stored, we just keep it back there for each year." "No, but I want to take the votes out and count them. I just want to make sure. I have nothing against Daryl. Daryl's a good guy, but I just want to make sure." "No, because then you might see the names of the people." "No, we didn't put names on. We just put the names of who voted for who. We didn't put our personal name on. We just wrote Daryl or Mindy." "No, I'm sorry, we can't show you that." Well, we can't have that with real elections. I even want to fight that when we vote for the president, it's a single vote across, all the laws. No state laws have different laws. On a presidential election, it's one vote per person across the United States, all the same rules, all the same regulations, other than time. So your time across the United States changes, 4 hours, 5 hours difference on California. I get that. But I don't care about state. The state is another beast. Somebody's got their damn alarm going off. State is a different beast. That's where everybody can have how you get your senator or congressman. I get it. Mayors, whatever, from small town on up. And that's cool. But when it comes to, I'm in New Jersey and you're in New York, and we're both voting for who we want to vote for, I don't want to hear that you don't want to hear that New Jersey does this, this, and this different from, we're all voting for the same spot. I don't vote for your mayor, and you don't vote for my governor, let's say. But when it comes to a president, scrape the system, scrape it clean, and start making it the one bastion we have of truth in America. So when we vote for that businessman or woman to run this country and yet be a parent or a father or a mother when needed up on that pedestal, I just want somebody up there that puts their face into the fire and fights for America. I don't care about anything else. What's that? Yeah, that's a great video where I want to do a video on that. For years and years and years, I was against the Electoral College, but I also understand why it was made. So we need a reform on the Electoral College. Look at the bullshit they do where they change like every 4 or 5, 7 years. They even change the voting districts per state. Like, what's that all about? You know what I mean? So yes, the Electoral College has its positives and its negatives, and I'm willing to hear. I still think it's needed, but just like mail-in ballots, I think it needs reform, and not by suits and ties. I think we should also have, how they have fact checks? I think we should have certain citizens for a fact check on, maybe we have 2 people per state that just do fact checking and reform ideas. They can't vote about it, change it or anything, but they listen to the cries of Americans. They don't be in office. And let me leave you with this because I don't want to be too long, but in America, the government works for us. We voted them in. Am I correct? We vote who's up there, right? But they work for us, right? Yeah, you're getting it. It's such a you put the peanut under the cup and you move it all around. They do this all the time. That's because they're all on the same side. They all have their hands in each other's pockets. They all have dirt, in their shoes, not on the bottom. So we have to break through that. Only Americans can do it. Only Americans. We don't have to have a civil war. We don't have to have race riots. We don't have to have religious. We don't have to have, LGBTQ, all that stuff, fighting each other. In the old days, you used to have the Polish section or the Italian section. And I know there was fights between them, but they don't want that anymore. They don't want that anymore. They want a full United States that does what one government wants, and that's a monarchy. What we have to do is hold fast to the Constitution, fix the voter ID and transparency, take care of the election, the term limits for congressmen not to be in there for 40, 45 years. Then they're 80 years old up there telling me how to run my life when they got, lifetime protection. They got good over $100,000 a year. Come on, man. Come on, right? We have a president, not a king. Amen. Do you know that was the first, that's one of the, up here, when we were building the Constitution, them men, they knew what it was like to be under a king. And they didn't fear that they're going to get repercussions from England, from the king. What they feared was whatever they wrote, it can't turn into a monarchy. It can't be that the president somehow gets his son in there next, or really the people. And I know for 1776, for them to write what they wrote was seeing the future all the way for 300 years. And they were regular men. They were people that wanted equality, peace, and they just started realizing maybe slavery's not good either. Yes, there was slave everything. But by now flash 100 years to 1876, and you've been through Lincoln, and you've been through Democratic Party trying to change their attitude and protect slavery, but then they kind of switched it with flash another 100 years. They figured out how to get to civil rights, and then that's the gaslighting and whatnot. So there's 100 years, then 100 years, and we're in the middle of the next 100 years. And it's a tie. It's the 200 years there. We're on the cusp right now of having not the America that we were supposed to have. That's my opinion, and that's why I'm fighting. So try to pass this on if you can, Mel. Thank you for staying with me and hearing me. And I hope that when you get on here, hit me with stuff that gets me thinking. And of course, I love you, brother. So if you agree with me, that's good too. But I'm always open to hear somebody's side, to hear what they go through, to hear what they want changed. All right. So thank you. And I'm going to try to do probably after this weekend, I'm probably going to try to set up a live, maybe a 6 o'clock live, like after the 5 o'clock news. I don't know if you have suggestions too. I don't want to get into 11 o'clock late at night. I want to hit people either right before they're eating or right after they're eating. They've already saw the daily mainstream media news, all that stuff. And I'm just an activist. I'm not coming on to be some, the next great YouTuber. All I'm trying to do is if I talk to 10 people and one of them sees where I'm headed, I'm winning. Because it's the 10% theory. If you have 1,000 followers, maybe 100 know that you even did a live. So when I have almost 34,000 Twitter followers at BFES56, I know that maybe 3,500 are seeing what I'm talking about. I'm not stupid. So anyway, all you guys out there, I love you. Drop some comments in here. Share it where you can share it. Share it on other platforms if you can. Get the link. Drop it all over. Because I'm coming. I'm getting ready. I said I got my helmet and my chest shield on. Now I'm going to work on my chainmail. I'm going to work on, stuff to protect my legs. Got to get my horse, and armor the horse. It's going to take me about a year to get this, really rolling. All right. I love you guys. And the last, I always, and you'll remember this, I always believe in this and finish with it. They do it for you. They'll do it for you. And they're ready to do it again. So when you're out there and you see somebody down and they're a veteran, remember, I love you back, brother. Remember to kiss, love, hug a veteran, because they do it for you. All right, peace.